The European Union sends money to Africa but not Italy, and we uncover a €6 billion financial fraud in Brussels. Right, as we've seen the last few episodes, we've talked about the EU support or lack of EU support when it comes to certain member states, including Italy, Spain, Portugal, and during this obviously global health crisis. And so what we've discovered today is that actually the European Union have other priorities. They are using the European taxpayers' money to actually send financial aid to Africa and South America, because that's a priority for Europe. So in this video we're going to talk about that, but also the financial fraud that has been uncovered in Brussels, €6 billion worth of financial fraud. And we also talk about the UK and EU trade talks that are they're back at the table now, and they are negotiating. Well, not an actual table; it's obviously virtual. They're doing it via phone and video call conferences. So let's start with the EU money. So as we mentioned, the European Union, they are giving some sort of money to the Balkans area, Italy and other places, but they are now sending €20 billion to Asia, Africa and Latin America. While the leaders of the group of 20 major economies have pledged to inject huge sums into the global economy, 8 charities including Oxfam and Caritas say that the world's poorest countries also need emergency support. The global pandemic can only be solved globally. It will not be defeated anywhere until it has been defeated everywhere. This is according to the EU foreign policy chief. And so most of the money is being relocated from other, less urgent EU foreign aid schemes into the EU's common budget. So they're actually transferring money from different budgets to be able to cover this. Now, the issue I have with this is that, firstly, when it comes to this global problem, it's hitting Europe obviously more than it's hitting South America and Africa. And I don't understand why the priority should be to send 20 billion euros to those places. I'm not saying completely cut off aid, because that's already happening anyway. They have a budget. And but if obviously individual countries can still support, and the United Nations have a budget, have groups that have budgets to help with these charities, and but the priority for the EU should be Europe. And it should be simple, because again, when you look at Spain and Portugal and what they're going through, well, especially Spain, but when it comes to the actual EU member states and what's happening there financially, putting aside the global health crisis, there are a lot of EU countries that need help. And where is Brussels? Nowhere to be seen. And so yeah, what they're doing is they're sending some money to Italy, some money, and then sending the rest to Africa and Latin America and Asia. So I get Asia, at least there is a big problem there. But really? So this is not really good. And this is coming at a time when the European Union are dealing with financial fraud. They've lost a lot of money. So this is... they need to get their priorities straight. Yes, in an astonishing report by EU auditors themselves, it has been revealed that €6 billion of EU's taxpayers' money was stolen by criminals in recent years, and over €130 million is... I don't understand. So this is a big problem, and no one was talking about this. For example, this is between 2002 and 2016, where €8.8 billion was stolen by fraudsters. And EU institutions clawed back just about €2.6 billion of it. But the mainstream media have never been reporting any of this. And even right now, they're not really reporting this. So this is thanks to Unity News Network, the website that actually uncovered this, and it's now been exposed properly. The EU auditors obviously published the report in Brussels, but the European correspondents weren't really interested enough to actually report it back to their countries. Part of the problem is that member states do not report all dodgy cases to Olaf. Under the rules, they do not even have to monitor EU payments worth less than €10,000, even though many EU grants to farmers fall below the threshold. Yeah, so this is it. Like, if 10 EU member states bother to report fewer than 10 suspected fraud cases, this is between 2007 and 2013, and nothing else actually happened. And some of those that reported the fewest included obviously Greece, Hungary, Bulgaria, and you know exactly why. And but where is the scrutiny? Because if something happens like this in Westminster, obviously the mainstream media will go completely mental. But no one's really interested in what's happening in Europe, and this is why we have to raise awareness and actually expose them for what they are. The incompetence of the European Union is showing truly. They said that if they harmonize everything, 27 countries harmonize, they want to harmonize banking, they want to harmonize obviously their currency, harmonize social policies. They can't even harmonize, catching criminals. So this is the problem with the EU. It will never work. It's a fantasy land, and it's just, it's corrupt. And a lot of these cases, I wouldn't be even surprised if there are links to the actual European Union themselves. And in the middle of this, a lot of the MEPs have decided to actually cut their own salaries and not spend it or give it to charity. The EU boss, Ursula von der Leyen, decided to not do that. Her salary has obviously been increased, and she's got a lot of obviously benefits and perks that comes with her job. She's not doing anything about hers. As the crisis deepens, it has emerged that the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has not cut her exorbitant salary yet, despite many European parliamentarians already giving a percentage of their pay to charities. So her salary has been increased by under 560 euros to 28,461 euros a month on her first working day in the top job. And this is matched with her tax-free allowances. She's likely to be making around 33,400 euros a month. This is taxpayers' money being well spent. The Italian MEP Antonia Maria Rinaldi told the Express that Italian parliamentarians and many other MEPs cut their salaries in order to give a percentage to charities that are working on this pandemic. But no, Ursula doesn't really care. Yeah, she wants to keep all the money to herself because, that's the priority. This is exactly what I talk about when I always mention on this channel that the European Union talk a good game. We are compassionate, we are a united family, everyone's equal. Not really when it comes to the things that actually matter. They only care about themselves and the gravy train that they're on. So yes, this is our Ursula. Although in other kind of good news, the UK-EU trade talks are coming back. They've been resumed despite the recent issues that they've had. And so the obviously chief negotiator David Frost released a statement a couple of days ago explaining that there have been a series of conference calls and a new timetable for discussions in April and May. So this is good news. Both David Frost and Michel Barnier, who were self-isolating because they were infected recently, they're back at work. And despite the calls that came from the Remainers and the European Union themselves begging the UK to consider extending the transition period, obviously the UK government said no. So Michel Barnier have been forced to come back and actually negotiate. They have until June to decide if they are going to be extending this transition period, which they shouldn't, obviously, because there's absolutely no reason. While the governments are tackling this global crisis, at the same time, they can also do other things. One of them is negotiating a trade deal, because this is actually very important at this time for both sides to actually have a proper relationship in the future, especially if we're going to have a recession. So the statement that came from David Frost said, "I want to reassure everyone that the UK-EU contacts have been continuing in these difficult times. We have remained in touch throughout. Both sides have exchanged legal texts, and last week we had a series of conference calls to explore and clarify technicalities. The UK side will share further legal texts with the EU Commission shortly. I and Michel Barnier will speak next week, and we aim to reach an agreement on a new timetable for discussions needed in April and May." So this is not bad. And we have to mention that the UK, it is according to CapEx, the website, the UK does indeed have a winning hand, and we shouldn't actually bluff it out playing it, because this is important at this time. The European Union definitely need a proper working future relationship with Britain. It is very important to actually point out that while this potential upcoming financial crisis and recession that's going to hit Europe and the whole world, the European Union cannot afford for the UK to go out on WTO terms and no deal. They definitely need trade. And this is exactly why what the UK government decided to do, instead of playing ball and say, well, yeah, both sides need a trade deal, so let's extend it. So far, what they've said is, because both sides need a trade deal, especially the EU, then just get back around the negotiating table and get it sorted by December. It's not difficult. So it's very kind of straight talking when it comes to this issue, and hopefully we could get something done by June so that we don't actually have to extend it, because I believe that a lot of people will be quite angry. Now later tonight at 8 p.m. I'm also going to be releasing a special video. It's going to be technically not really political, but it is about what we're all going through with the lockdown and self-isolation. So it's going to be, I'm going to be talking about what's happening with everyone, what everyone's actually going through, and I want to get you guys as the subscribers and supporters to actually also get involved. So about 8 p.m. we'll be releasing that video. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe and click on that bell next to it so you get notified. We do have a daily show at 5:45 p.m. and I want to say a massive thank you to the supporters and the members of our YouTube channel. It's because of you guys that we can actually continue our work, especially during these dark days. So I want to say a massive thank you again. If you want to join as a member, as usual, you can check out the link in the description or find the join button next to subscribe, or go on your browser and type in youtube.com/myitc/join. Just check out the details if you're interested and just become a member. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video.